The strange selection. The room was too bright. Ryder opened his eyes slowly. His head hurt. His skin felt hot. He sat up and looked around. The walls were smooth and glowing with soft golden light. It wasn't a hospital. It wasn't a ship. It was something else. He touched his arm. Strange blue lines ran up from his wrist to his shoulder. They glowed softly like living tattoos. He had never seen them before. "Where am I?" he whispered to himself. Before he could stand, the door slid open. He froze. A tall figure stepped into the room. She was not human. Her skin was pale silver, and her long hair flowed behind her like white smoke. Her eyes were a deep violet, glowing softly. She wore something like armor, but it was shaped with grace, not for war. She looked at him like he was something rare, like a treasure. "You are awake," she said, her voice calm but powerful. "Who are you?" Ryder asked, standing. Slowly, she walked closer, not fast, like a queen walking through her garden. "I am Princess Zariel of the High Moons," she said. "And you, human, you belong to me now." Ryder's heart pounded. "What?" Zariel tilted her head, almost amused. "You were chosen. Selected by the sacred markings. They appeared on your skin during the bonding ceremony." "I didn't agree to any ceremony," Ryder said. "You were asleep, but the markings chose you, and that is enough." He took a step back. "What do you mean I belong to you?" Zariel moved closer, and this time her voice lowered to a whisper. "You are now my mate, human. Your duties begin tonight." Ryder froze. "No, I'm not your property." Zariel looked into his eyes. There was no anger, no cruelty, only a strange calm. "You will understand soon. Your kind is special, rare, powerful in ways even we do not fully understand. Our people seek balance, and only with a bonded mate can a royal ascend the throne." "Then find someone else," Ryder said. "I don't want this." "But I do," she said softly. "And the markings agree." Before he could reply, the walls shifted. The room changed. It was now a hallway, smooth and shining. She walked forward, expecting him to follow. He stayed still. She stopped and turned. "If you stay here, you will be taken by the guards, and they will not be as gentle." Ryder clenched his fists. He didn't trust her, but he didn't want to test the guards, so he followed. They walked through the halls of a palace. Alien statues lined the walls. Tall, proud figures. Some looked human, others did not. "What is this place?" he asked. "The House of Union," she said. "Built for the sacred bond between our races." "Our races?" Ryder asked. "I thought humans were lost after the war." Zariel paused. "You are not the first human brought here, but you are the first to carry the true marks that makes you different." They entered a large room. The ceiling looked like stars, and in the middle stood a table with food, strange fruits, glowing drinks, warm bread that smelled like earth. "Eat," she said. "You will need strength for what comes." He stared at her. "What comes?" Zariel smiled. "Tonight, the first step of bonding begins. Once complete, our connection will be permanent." Ryder stepped back. "You can't just force this on me." "I am not forcing," she said. "I am offering. But you must understand, refusal is not without cost. Others will take what you reject, and they will not care about your feelings." He sat down slowly, not touching the food. "What happens if I refuse everything?" She looked at him for a long time, then said, "Then you will be marked as broken, useless. You will be taken to the lower chambers, kept for study." "Like an animal," he whispered. She didn't deny it. He stared at the glowing fruit. Zariel sat across from him. "You are afraid. That is normal. But you are not weak. The markings chose you for a reason. Even now, your body is changing. He looked down at the lines on his skin. They were brighter now, pulsing with each beat of his heart. What did you do to me? He asked. Nothing, she said softly. This is your own power. Awakening. He didn't understand. Not yet, but something inside him was different, stronger, louder, like fire in his blood, and she could see it in him. Zariel stood. Rest. I will return when the moons rise, and then we begin. She walked away, her long hair glowing behind her like silver flame. The door closed. Ryder sat alone, heart pounding, marked by something ancient, claimed by someone powerful, and somewhere deep in the palace something whispered in the shadows. You are not the first, and you won't be the last. The alien palace of Thorns Rider didn't sleep that night. He sat in the glowing silence, staring at the strange lines crawling along his skin. They looked alive now, like they were breathing with him. Every time he tried to calm his thoughts, he remembered her voice. Low, smooth, dangerous. You belong to me now. When the door finally opened again, it wasn't Zariel who came. Different alien entered. Male, taller, bulkier, with golden armor etched in spiral runes. His face was covered with a mask that showed no emotion. Follow, the guard said. Ryder stood slowly, still unsure if this was all some dream, or a nightmare wearing silk robes. They moved through quiet halls, lit by floating orbs of blue, fire. Alien paintings hung on the walls. None of them showed joy. They were scenes of war, control, and strange rituals. Each one featured humans, kneeling. After several turns, they entered a long corridor lined with statues. Ryder stopped walking. Each statue was different poses, different armor, but the faces were all the same. Human. Every single statue showed a man with hollow eyes, mouth shut, body standing still in perfect obedience. What is this place? Ryder asked, a chill running through him. The guard didn't answer. Ryder stepped, closer to one statue. It was flawless. Too flawless. He reached out to touch it, but as his fingers brushed the stone, a shock went through his body. His breath caught. It wasn't stone. It was something else. Preserved. Locked in place by alien technology he couldn't understand. These were the past mates, a voice said behind him. Ryder turned quickly. Zariel stood at the end of the hall, her hands folded, her silver dress glowing with threads of starlight. They were honored, she said calmly. They gave themselves for the balance. Gave? Ryder asked. Or were taken? She walked toward him slowly, past the frozen figures. Some came willingly, others and resisted, but in the end all were bound. He stared at her. What happened to them? Some ascended with their mate. Others lost their light. She glanced at one of the statues. The bond must be accepted. If it is not, the markings will burn them from the inside. So, I either bond with you, or I die. Zariel looked at him, her expression unreadable. You live, or you fade. But I do not want your death, Ryder. I chose you because I saw something no one else saw. He stepped back. And what's that? She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and began walking again. There is more you must see. He followed, heart beating fast. They entered a new chamber. It was darker here. Colder. The air felt thicker. A large map was carved into the floor. Stars, moons, planets he didn't recognize. Above it, a massive glass dome showed the sky beyond. And there, high above, floated the twin moons she had spoken of. The bonding must happen under both moons, she said softly. It is tradition, law, and power. Ryder looked up, the moons reflected in his eyes. Why me? Because the others failed, she said. They were chosen by council. You were chosen by the markings, and that is older than law. Looked at her, really looked. Her beauty was undeniable, her voice could melt stone. But her presence, It was something else, like gravity wrapped in silk, always pulling. "How long have you been waiting?" he asked. She paused. 162 cycles. He stared. "That's years." "Yes. Waiting for what?" She looked at him with eyes full of quiet storms. "For someone who would not break." He took a breath. "So I'm not your toy?" "No," she said softly. "You are my gamble." Later, Ryder was led to a private room, huge windows, soft lights, a bed carved from crystal and vines. He sat near the wall thinking. These people had taken humans for generations, treated them like rare pets or trophies. And now, suddenly, he was told he was special? Important? No. Something didn't fit. He got up and moved quietly to the side wall, feeling the edges. One panel clicked when pressed. A secret door. His heart raced. He slipped inside. The path was narrow and dark. Glowing veins ran along the ceiling, guiding him downward. The air smelled like dust and metal. Finally, he entered a hidden chamber. And there, chained to the far wall, was a man, thin, pale, barely breathing, but human. His eyes opened slowly. "You're new," he whispered. "What is this place?" Ryder asked, rushing to his side. "Prison," the man said. "For those who see too much, speak too much, feel too much." "What did they do to you?" "Nothing," he said. "They let me hope." Ryder froze. "You think she's different?" the man whispered. "You think she chose you because of fate? Didn't she?" Ryder asked. The man's voice cracked. "No. She chose you because you're the last one strong enough to still say no." Ryder stepped back, mind racing. "Run," the man said, "before the moons rise." Secrets of the chained Mater Eater froze at the voice above. Zariel's soft melodic tone echoed down through the dark shaft like silk laced with poison. His breath caught in his throat. How had she found him so quickly? The chained man looked up weakly. "She always knows," he whispered. "The palace listens to her. It breathes with her." Ryder stepped back, heart pounding. The chamber felt colder now. He turned to the man again. "What's your name?" The man gave a thin smile. "Names don't matter here. But I was called Jalen. I was the last before you." Jalen's eyes, once tired, now glowed faintly with the same blue hue that ran across Ryder's arms, the same markings. "You had the markings too," Ryder said, stepping closer. "You were chosen." Jalen laughed, a dry, broken sound. "Yes, chosen, just like a lamb is chosen by the knife. But you're still alive. Barely. They keep me here to remind the others, or maybe to study me. I resisted the bond. I made it through the first night. She didn't like that." Ryder stared at the shackles, crafted of smooth alien metal, fused with his skin. "Why did you say she's not what she seems?" Jalen leaned forward, chains creaking. "Because she's not just a princess. She's the heir. Her bondmate becomes a ruler, and the only thing more powerful than the throne is the fear of a human who can't be controlled." A heavy silence fell. Ryder's mind spun. Every word Zariel had said replayed inside his head. About power, about purpose, about choice. But now, doubt had cracked that perfect image. "She told me she chose me because I wouldn't break," Ryder said. Jalen nodded. "That's true, and it scares her. She needs you to obey, but she also needs you to believe it was your choice." A deep hum filled the air. The walls shifted, glowing briefly. "She's coming," Jalen whispered, panic rising. "Go. Pretend you were lost. Whatever happens, don't tell her about me." Ryder hesitated, then slipped back through the narrow passage. His body trembled with every step. The glowing lines on his arms burned a little hotter. When he emerged, Zariel stood near the window watching the twin moons rise. She didn't turn to face him. "You wandered far," she said, her voice calm. Ryder said nothing. She turned slowly, Her silver dress shimmered in the starlight. You found the lower chambers, didn't you? He tensed. I was looking for a way out. There is no way out, she said gently. Only ways forward. Then what about the man down there? He asked, his voice tight. What did you do to him? Zariel's eyes narrowed, and for the first time the warmth in her face faded. He was broken, she said. The bond rejected him, not by my will but by the markings themselves. They do not accept fear. They feed on it. He wasn't afraid. He resisted. And look what it did to him, she said sharply. Ryder took a step forward. So is that what happens if I say no? Zariel's jaw clenched. Then she turned away, walking to the edge of the chamber. I told you, Ryder, I don't want a slave, I want a partner. But you keep prisoners, he said. I keep truths hidden, she said quietly. Because this empire is built on illusion. If they knew what you are truly capable of, they'd destroy you before I could even reach you. His breath caught. What do you mean? She looked over her shoulder. Human males. The ones with the marks. You have something ancient in you. Something older than even our bloodlines. Your kind once lit stars with a touch. You ruled galaxies before our kind learned to speak. Ryder stared at her, confused and shaken. Why don't we know this? He asked. Because it was erased, she said. Your history was buried. Your people were scattered. And now, the markings return only when one of your kind is ready to awaken that power again. She stepped closer, eyes glowing softly. And this time, it chose you. Ryder felt heat rise in his chest. Not from anger, not from fear, from something deeper, power, raw and alive. Why tell me this now? He asked. Because I'm done lying, she said. I want a break. This cycle. No more frozen mates, no more chains. If you bond with me, truly, we can rewrite everything. You said the bond starts tonight. She nodded. Yes, but the first step is not what you think. She reached out, slowly, hand hovering over his chest. Will you trust me? She asked. His heart thundered. He didn't answer. But he didn't step away. Her hand pressed against his skin, and the markings lit up, blue fire spreading across his body like lightning. The chamber pulsed with light, and deep below, chained in darkness, Jalen screamed without sound, his own markings glowing once more. Something ancient had awakened. The trap of desire, the fire in his skin didn't fade. Even after she pulled her hand away, the glowing markings stayed, alive, pulsing, hot. Ryder dropped to one knee, chest rising and falling fast. His breath felt sharp like he'd inhaled stars. His body trembled, not with weakness but with too much energy. Zariel knelt beside him, her silver hair brushing his arm like a soft wave. Her voice was low, careful. You are resisting it, but it's inside you now. The bond doesn't force, it calls. And if your heart is open, it answers. He looked at her with wide eyes. What is it? She hesitated. Then she whispered, Your true self. Ryder didn't understand, but something in her tone stopped him from speaking. This wasn't the same woman who whispered about ownership or duty. This Zariel sounded tired, heavy, almost human. I felt something, he muttered. But it wasn't control. It wasn't lust. She nodded. That's because the first phase of bonding is not physical. It's emotional. You think we choose mates for pleasure or politics, but it's more than that. We are bound by emotion, by pain, by truth. He stared at her in silence. Then she stood and walked to the tall window. The moons outside had shifted, their light shining down onto the center of the chamber like a spotlight. They don't know what I'm doing, she said. They think I'm following the path, securing the bond, becoming queen. But I'm not. Then what are you doing? Ryder asked. Changing everything. The way she said it, soft, but certain, sent a chill through him. She turned to him again, her expression unreadable. Come. I want to show you something the others never saw. They moved through halls that were not carved in stone but grown. The palace was alive, its walls breathing with gentle pulses of light. Strange plants glowed as they passed, curling towards Zariel like pets seeking their owner. But it was quiet. Too quiet. No guards followed. No others walked these halls. Ryder began to feel it. They were somewhere forbidden. Finally, they reached a chamber deep beneath the throne tower. The door was black and smooth, like it had been untouched for centuries. Zariel placed her hand on it, and the door opened without a sound. Inside, the air was heavy with history. Giant tapestries hung from the walls, depicting war, peace, bloodlines, and something more disturbing. Scenes of human men glowing with blue light surrounded by alien queens kneeling before them. This chamber was sealed, she said, before I was born. The council feared it. Why? She turned to him. Because it shows the truth. Long ago, humans were not just mates. They were creators, leaders. They held the power to unite species. But the old queens grew afraid. They made humans into trophies, not partners. Ryder stared at the images. It was hard to believe, but deep inside, something resonated. Like, a part of him remembered what his mind couldn't. And you want to bring that back, he asked. I want to fix what they broke, she said. I don't want to own you, Ryder. I want to walk beside you. He looked at her for a long moment. She had lied to him before, used soft words like chains. But now, there was no silk, no perfume, only raw truth. Then why not free the others? He asked. Why not set Jalen loose? Zariel's eyes dimmed, because if the council knew he was still alive, they'd erase both of us. His mind is already damaged. I couldn't risk it. Until you arrived. Ryder's hands clenched. He warned me. He begged me to run. I know, she said. He said the same to me once. Ryder blinked. What? I was not always a princess, she said softly. I was a girl, scared and curious. He was my first bond trial. I failed him. The room grew cold. You loved him, Ryder whispered. I did, she said, pain flickering in her voice. But I didn't understand the bond. I tried to control it, and it broke him. I swore I'd never repeat that mistake. She stepped closer now, her fingers hovering near his but not touching. That's why I let you speak freely. Why I let you wander. Because this time, it has to be your choice. Ryder stared at her hand. His markings glowed brighter as hers, came near, but he didn't take it. Not yet. Later that night, he sat alone on a terrace watching the moons climb higher. The stars above looked different here. Sharper. Closer. He heard soft footsteps behind him. He didn't turn. Zariel sat beside him, quiet for a long time. I asked the palace to give us privacy tonight, she said. No guards, no rituals, just silence. He nodded slowly. Thank you. They sat like that for a long while, saying nothing. And then she whispered. The bond deepens with emotion. Not touch, not command, but truth. He looked at her and saw no crown, no royal robes, only a tired soul trapped in duty. Then here's my truth, he said. I don't trust you. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't look away. But, he continued, I want to. Her eyes flickered with something like hope. I won't be your property, and I won't be your tool. Then what will you be, she asked. He turned to the sky. Something new. And beside him, the alien princess smiled. Not like a ruler, but like a girl who had been waiting lifetimes for that answer. Her dangerous confession. The night was longer than it should have been. The moons hovered still in the sky, frozen in that perfect arc of light above the palace. Ryder lay awake on the soft bed of vines and silk, but sleep refused to take him. His skin still glowed faintly with the blue markings. They had faded since she touched him, but they didn't disappear. Something inside him had changed, and now, even silence felt heavier. Like the walls were waiting, like the air was listening. When the door finally creaked open, he wasn't surprised. Zariel stepped into the room wearing no crown, no armor, not even the flowing robes of a royal, just a plain dark cloth wrapped around her form. For the first time, she looked smaller. Not weak, but human in posture. Her glow was dimmed. "You're not sleeping," she said softly. "Neither are you," Ryder replied. She moved closer, but kept a careful distance. "I thought I would rest tonight, but I couldn't. Not with what I still haven't told you." He sat up. "You've already told me a lot." "Not enough," she said. "Not the most important thing." The air between them tightened. "This palace, this bond, even the markings, they're all tools. Weapons made by the ancients to protect power, but me, I don't want the throne." Ryder blinked. "Then why go through all of this?" Zariel looked down at her hands. For a moment, she said nothing. Then slowly she unwrapped her arms. Beneath the cloth were long, crisscrossing scars. Deep, brutal, carefully hidden from the eyes of any who would dare call her perfect. Ryder felt his breath catch. "Who did that to you?" "My mother," she said. "The Empress." He froze. "Why?" "Because I failed her. Because I hesitated during my first bond ceremony. Because I cried when the markings rejected my chosen mate." "Jalen," Ryder whispered. She nodded. "I didn't want to use him. I wanted to protect him. But in our culture, mercy is weakness, and weakness must be punished." She slowly sat beside him, her voice just a thread. "I was 15 when the scars began. I stopped screaming after the second moon cycle. And when I turned 16, I learned how to smile while bleeding." Ryder didn't know what to say. Zariel stared out the window. "I stayed silent for years. I let the court believe I was becoming like her, like them. But all the while, I studied the old chambers, the forbidden ones. I found out what humans once were, what they could be again. I promised myself when the markings returned I would do it differently." "So why hide all this from me?" Ryder asked. "Because you're not just part of the plan," she said. "You are the plan. If the bond works, I'll have enough power to challenge the crown, to erase the old laws, to set your kind free." Ryder looked at her, searching for lies, but all he saw was a girl drowning in her own fire. "And if the bond fails?" he asked. "Then I die during the coronation," she said simply. "And the next princess will be worse. Much worse." Silence fell again. A cold wind passed through the open window. Then, after a long pause, Zariel stood. "I have one night to prove to you that I'm not like the ones who came before. And you have one night to decide if you'll stand beside me when the stars judge us. And if I say no," Ryder asked, her voice broke, "then I'll walk to the throne alone, and I'll burn before I let them chain me again." She turned to leave, but Ryder spoke. "Wait." She stopped. He stood, slowly crossed the space between them and gently took her wrist. "Don't make that walk alone." Her eyes glistened, not with manipulation, not with pride, but with something she had hidden for too long. Real emotion. Hope and fear. "I'm not saying yes," Ryder said, his voice steady, "but I'll walk with you. At least until the stars decide." Zariel nodded once. Her lip trembled, but she quickly turned her face away. The next morning, the palace began to change. Banners of the twin moons were raised. Courtiers whispered through crystal halls. And far across the system, royal ships turned toward the capital. The coronation was coming, and everyone could feel it in the air. Ryder stood on a high balcony watching the great storm clouds gather at the edge of the sky. The bond wasn't sealed yet, but the moment was approaching. He touched the glowing lines on his arm. They were brighter than ever, and he couldn't shake the feeling. Something ancient was watching, waiting, ready to be awakened. The bond or the blade, the sky above the alien capital had turned dark, not with night, but with ships. Dozens, maybe hundreds, hovered high above the city. Royal vessels, carved with silver and obsidian metal shaped like wings and thorns. They had arrived for the coronation of Princess Zariel, the moment the throne would pass into her hands. And if the ancient rite completed with a bond, into human hands as well. Ryder stood alone on the highest terrace of the palace, looking up at them, a fleet of watchers, judges, enemies cloaked in ceremony. His markings pulsed again, as if sensing the storm. Behind him, footsteps echoed, not Zariel's. He turned. It was one of the palace servants, young, trembling, alien eyes flicking left and right. "You must come now," she whispered. "They wait for you below." Ryder followed without asking questions. They moved through, back corridors, far from the grand halls filled with velvet and gold. Here the walls were unfinished, bare roots and crystal veins crawling along stone. The lights were dim, flickering. They descended into a place not meant for royals or for ceremony, but for rebellion. When they reached the lowest chamber, he stepped inside and froze. There were at least a dozen of them. Humans. Some wore armor, scavenged from alien guards. Others wore nothing but plain cloth and blue scars. Each one had the markings. Some faded, others bright, but none as alive as his. "You're real," one of them whispered. Another stepped forward. "We've been waiting for you." Ryder looked around. "What is this?" "The buried bond," said a tall woman with white streaks in her black hair. "We are the ones who refused, who escaped the chain. This place is our final chance." "Final chance for what?" "To stop the bond from repeating again." They led him to a round table where a holographic map flickered above it, marking the palace chambers, guard routes, and a single point, glowing red, the coronation platform beneath the throne tower. "If she completes the bond," said the woman, "they'll unite under her rule, and the slavery of our kind will be written in stone." "But she wants to free you," Ryder said. "She wants to change everything." The woman's expression didn't change. That's what her mother said too. Until the moment the bond was complete, Ryder's blood went cold. "You don't trust her, do you?" He didn't answer. Instead, he asked, "What do you want from me?" "A choice," she said. "The same one we never had. Bond with her and rise to power, or refuse and help us destroy the throne while it still stands." The table darkened. "Either way," she said, "you hold the key." Later, Ryder walked the empty halls alone, thoughts racing like fire through his chest. Both sides claimed they were right. Both believed they were saving him. But neither understood what it meant to carry this power without knowing why it had returned. After so many years, he paused near one of the old statues, the ones of the past human mates frozen forever in stone. He stared at their eyes. Not dead, not hollow, trapped, and he whispered, "What would you do if you had one more chance?" The statue said nothing, but the markings on his skin flared suddenly, as if answering. He turned. Zariel was behind him. Her face was pale, her breath sharp. "They found you," she said. "The buried bond. I saw the chamber flicker on the palace sensors. You knew about them?" "Of course," she said. "Every royal knows. But speaking of them is treason. Helping them is death." "They don't trust you," Ryder said. Zariel nodded. "I don't blame them." She stepped forward slowly and looked up into his face. "But I trust you." He stared into her eyes. "And if I walk away?" Her voice cracked. "Then I will walk to the blade. Alone." The night of the coronation came. The palace erupted in light, music, and strange wind that carried petals from trees Ryder had never seen before. The entire structure seemed to float above the world like a living dream. He stood with Zariel in the heart of the ceremony chamber. The twin moons aligned directly above. Light poured down, striking their joined hands. The energy between them sparked in the air. Crowds of royals, nobles, soldiers, and ancient council members watched from all directions, silent, expecting, tense. The blade hovered between them. It wasn't metal. It was a shard of something older, a remnant of the first bond. The blade would mark them, seal them, bind their souls. Zariel's hand trembled slightly. She whispered so only Ryder could hear. "You can still say no." Ryder looked at her. The chamber pulsed with energy. The markings on his arms rose like fire, and just as she lifted the blade, a cry rang out from the shadows. "Stop the ceremony!" An explosion shattered the outer doors. Rebels poured in. Guards drew weapons. The chamber fell into chaos, and from the smoke, Jalen stepped forward, free, alive, and glowing. His eyes met Ryder's. "Don't do it," he shouted. "Don't let history repeat itself." Zariel stepped in front of Ryder, shielding him with her body. "No," she screamed. "This bond will break the chain, not build it." But Ryder didn't move, because for the first time since waking up in the Golden Room, he knew exactly what had to be done. A bond rewritten in fire. The throne hall trembled beneath their feet. Smoke rolled across the marble floor like waves. Screams echoed between pillars carved with the faces of ancient rulers. Beams of golden light flickered wildly overhead as systems failed one by one. Guards clashed with rebels. Alien nobles ducked behind broken statues, their jeweled robes stained with dust and panic. And in the very heart of it all, Ryder stood between two worlds. To his right, Zariel, breathless, arm outstretched, the ceremonial blade still glowing in her hand. Her silver dress was torn, her pale skin smudged with ash. But her eyes, those strange, beautiful violet eyes, were locked on his, wide with fear, with hope. To his left, Jalen, chains broken, his own markings pulsing like blue lightning. He stood beside the rebel leader, a tall woman with a scar over one blind eye. They looked at Ryder like he was the final card in a game played for lifetimes. One path led to the throne, the other to fire and rebellion. But neither offered peace. "Choose," Jalen shouted over the noise. "The bond is a cage." "Or a weapon," Zariel cried, "to destroy the cage from within." Ryder's head spun, but his body moved without hesitation. Not forward, not back. He stepped sideways, away from the blade, away from the rebels, away from everything they wanted him to be. "No," he said quietly, but it carried like thunder across the broken chamber. "No more masters. No more chains. No more pretending this is our choice. The bond isn't theirs to give or take. It belongs to us." Zariel blinked, lips parting. "What are you doing?" "Rewriting the ritual," he said. He reached out, not to take the blade, but to break it. With one motion, Ryder closed his fist around the ancient weapon, and the markings on his arms exploded with light. The chamber went silent, every eye drawn to the human now glowing like a second sun, and the blade shattered in his hand. Shards of pure memory burst across the room, visions of ancient humans standing as equals beside alien queens, not slaves. Echoes of voices long silenced rang through the air. The council members dropped to their knees, clutching their heads as history screamed back into their minds. Zariel stepped back, eyes wide with awe. You broke it." "No," Ryder said. "I freed it." In that moment, something ancient stirred beneath the palace. A low hum, a vibration rising from the core of the world itself. The throne, massive, pulsing with energy, cracked down the middle, as if rejecting every lie it had ever been built upon. Outside, the skies shifted. The ships that had hovered in silence now began to move, some retreating, others descending rapidly. Panic spread through the upper courts as systems failed, alliances collapsed, and the false ceremony dissolved into chaos. Inside, Ryder turned toward Zariel. "If you still want to lead," he said, "then do it. But not with a bond written in fear. Not with a throne that demands silence." Zariel's voice trembled. "And if I walk with you instead?" He stepped close, not touching her, but letting their light mix, his blue, her violet. "Then we build something new. Not a throne, not a crown, just a path." She looked at his hand, not raised in command, not lowered in submission, just offered as slowly she took it. Their joined hands pulsed once with light, and every rebel, every noble, every soldier felt the shift. The palace didn't fall. It breathed again, not with control, not with dominance, but with something it had forgotten centuries ago: freedom. Days passed, the fires were put out. The rebellion disbanded not with violence, but with conversation. Zariel stood before the council, not as a queen, but as one voice among many. She presented a new order. No forced bonds, no silent prisons, no more stolen humans in cages of light. And beside her stood Ryder, not as consort, not as king, just as himself. They didn't wear crowns, they wore scars, and that was enough. The markings on Ryder's skin faded, but not completely. A quiet reminder of the moment one human broke the oldest rule in the galaxy. He didn't kneel. In the quiet nights that followed, Ryder would walk the once forbidden halls. The statues were gone now, taken down and buried. In their place, a garden bloomed. Each flower was named after one of the lost. Jalen stood among them, sometimes silent but free. He had no chains now, only memory and Ryder. He didn't belong to a throne. He belonged to no one. But beside him walked a woman who had once whispered, "You are mine." Now she simply said, "Walk with me." And for the first time, he smiled.